I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, we got us another crazy zombie takeout with a gun.
What's up? Welcome to episode 203 of Zombie,
Zombie takeout.
the movie and cult movie podcast. I'm Uncle John.
And I'm Scotto.
I should point out that this is our 5th anniversary episode.
Yeah.
And without any further ado, let's get straight to this week's movie, which is from 1990, Men at Work, and of course the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by David Keith. He's not in the movie, but you can bet his name will come up at some point during the review.
Or Keith David.
Mhm.
That's the problem when someone has two first names, isn't it?
Fans who've been with us for a while, even if you just heard our review of the thing, the gag, we can never get the guy's name right.
All right. And also brought to you by Another Man's Fries. One of several sacred things in this world. Just don't touch them.
Mhm.
All right. So we have two garbage men by day, dreamers by night, I guess we should say.
Yeah.
They're
And now I have that theme song stuck in my head. I don't remember what it was, but
what?
I want to say it was Moonlighting.
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
I have a theme song from the 80s
But anyway,
in my head. Anyway,
they are dreaming away, hoping to open a surf shop of their own one of these days. But that is a very, very small part of the movie. Because what happens
well,
is
the actual plot is a very small part of the movie, but we'll get to that.
well, the dream to own a surf
Well,
shop.
but I mean,
is
the
that.
actual plot of the movie is even a small part of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. We have a bunch of situations to get Keith involved.
Yeah.
And but anyway, they're the fuck ups of this town in California that's very tight ass, which I have a feeling was not much of an exaggeration. They get involved in this crazy murder plot of a local town gangster slash congressman or mayor.
Mhm.
And actually, no, it's the
No, it was the business owner.
that's right. That's right.
He ran a paint thinner company.
It was the mayor who was murdered.
Yeah.
And
Or actually wasn't a mayor, he was a councilman.
yeah, he was running
Because
for
they
mayor.
threatened his chances at mayor.
That's right. So he blackmails this businessman who's dumping toxic waste. They have it. He had taped them and gets murdered before he can submit the tape. And lo and behold, someone throws away a perfectly good white boy, him, on their garbage route by the worst hitmen ever. And unfortunately, this happens while they're being supervised by their boss's psychotic Vietnam vet brother-in-law. And, well, they have to, rather than just going to the cops, because, well, the cops don't really like these guys anyway, these garbage men, so they decide no cops. And their supervisor does not like cops either,
Or rent-a-cops.
or rent-a-cops for that matter, and he needs help. They decide to try to investigate this murder. He goes over to the woman that they saw arguing with him the night before, and to see if she had possibly done it or knew who did it. And they have two rival garbage men following them as well that get mixed up in the whole thing.
Because of a practical joke war.
Yeah, and you can really say that's the plot. Hilarity does ensue.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is the plot, the whole toxic waste thing, very, very secondary.
Oh yeah, it is a very, very loosely threadbare plot. Yeah, I think use that word in my notes. Threadbare.
The whole point of the movie is Estevez and Sheen together.
Yes. The two brothers hadn't really worked together before this, did they?
Not that I'm aware of. And actually, it was originally planned to put another Brat Packer in with Estevez.
Oh, really?
The original screenplay was called Clear Intent, and yeah, it was supposed to star one of the other Brat Pack members, and Sheen wasn't really Brat Pack.
I'm trying to see if he was in Young Guns or.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, no.
But the whole point of the movie is the two of them together, because every scene with the two of them is great. They have amazing chemistry.
Yes, he was in Young Guns.
Oh, he was? Okay, so they had worked together before this. But the scenes where they're apart, particularly the ones without Keith David, really fall flat.
Well, yeah, it takes a while to set up, and I was kind of surprised
Mm-hmm.
at how slow it was in the very first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie.
And most of the quotes from the movie come from that section.
Yeah, the golf clap.
The golf clap, perfectly good white boy. Another man's fries is a little later.
Well, no. Wait a minute. The perfectly good white boy comes after that, because really,
Well, that's when they find the body.
right, when the switch is flipped on this movie, when it goes from just being an okay movie to something awesome, is when Emilio Estevez says under his breath, "You suck." Once he gets into that, when they're riding with
Yeah.
with David, it turns completely there. And like every line he has after that, David, it's just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. As much as I like the brothers, David really steals it.
I can't even recall an instance where I've seen one person carry a movie
Mhm.
like this one. And he's not even a main
Well,
character.
the only problem is the actual plot. I think if you just had those three and maybe the pizza guy interacting and improvising, it would have been a masterpiece. But there's a plot, and there are these four other actors who did well enough, but weren't that interesting.
I think Emilio Estevez probably of the four scored best.
Mhm.
When he does the crazy white boy with the gun
Yeah.
speech, the variation
Mhm.
of David's
Right.
crazy zombie takeout with the gun.
Yeah.
It's just funny him trying to do David. And Potterdam was pretty good too.
He's good. I know I've seen him in other things. I don't know his name. He's one of those actors.
Yeah, he's been in a million things, and you never recognize
Yeah.
him.
Well, you recognize him. You just don't pull out his name.
Yeah.
He was good, but I just didn't care when you have these other four with this amazing chemistry and this great comedy.
Well, I liked his take on the villain.
Yeah,
I mean,
he did well. I can't really criticize him. It's just he was upstaged.
well, I mean, of course, he's just there to serve a function.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of actors that would have tried to be so evil
True.
when instead he took things personally.
Yes.
That's what I liked
Good point.
about him. Like, how could you have, taped me, doing this? And just so low key and just, well, I tend to think I was misquoted in that in several places, talking about his write-up in California Entrepreneurs Monthly.
That is true. I may have, not given him the credit he deserved.
But that's something you notice after I don't know how many watchings of this.
Yeah. And I haven't seen this in probably 20 years.
I'm trying to remember the last time I've seen it. It's been a good decade or so, probably.
The last time I rented it from a, video store. And I
Yeah.
don't think I've rented anything in probably close to 20 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Actually, I distinctly remember that trip because they were watching it on the TV in the store when I said, yeah, I'd like that.
I think the last time I caught it was probably on cable, and it was probably a good 15 years ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is truly a lost movie because I did mention it to some younger people, not in our generation, and they were just, "What's that?"
Yeah, you definitely have to be Gen X to remember this.
Well, I mean, it's cultish even for a Gen Xer, I think.
True.
I think there's a lot of people that weren't aware of this even in our generation.
Mhm. Well, it's like Clerks, you have to be a Gen X to really appreciate it, but a lot of people know about it.
Oh yeah.
This one, you really have to be around our age, around 40, to get it and
And
even remember it.
Clerks transcends our generation. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Clerks definitely the kids have picked up on that.
yeah, yeah. But there is a lot, back to Men at Work, there's a lot in this movie that's very dated.
Oh
And
yes.
it's just 1990. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, says the 42-year-old. But it really surprised me. Like, and just, on a superficial level, the opening credits and music were very late 80s.
The whole soundtrack
Yeah.
was a very 80s
Mm.
feel to it. I mean, that whole hit you over the head with the soundtrack
Yeah,
kind of thing.
right. And it was
That
all
was
reggae. All,
that was
all very commercial reggae.
well, right. That
Pop
just
reggae.
was more, akin to early 90s, late 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess, yeah, UB40 was huge,
Hmm.
right, a year or
Yes.
so before this. So,
Also, oddly, this whole toxic waste storyline seemed dated. That was a big thing at the time, not so much anymore.
which is odd because how
Yeah.
many places are still dumping toxic
Well,
waste?
yes, that's my point. It's become, least to most people, less of a concern when it's probably a bigger issue in
Yeah,
reality.
yeah, very strange.
Also, the movie seemed very homophobic.
Oh yeah, the whole thing with the merry-go-round
Mhm.
and I think they stayed clear enough away
Well,
from
they weren't overtly, no,
right.
but the tone was very homophobic, and I think again that's something you would only notice now given the current climate.
We are so much more sensitive to that now.
Yeah.
Good God. But you could also just say, well, they are two dudes in their boxers
Yeah. Yeah.
in a public place.
And they could have easily gotten out of that. I mean, it would have been awkward, but it could have been done.
If they were handcuffed?
Well, one was handcuffed around the other's waist. They
Oh.
could have slipped out of that.
I thought they were both handcuffed.
Well, one was handcuffed to the merry-go-round.
Yeah.
That was a bigger problem. The other was just handcuffed around that guy's waist.
Oh.
He could have gotten free.
Well,
It would
yeah,
have been awkward as hell, but he could have done it.
he totally could have gotten out. I didn't realize that. I thought he was also to
No,
a post too
just
behind him in the
the
merry-go-round.
guy in front was handcuffed to the merry-go-round.
Huh.
I caught it at the very end when you find out they've been in that position all night. And I finally took a close look to see exactly how they were handcuffed and realized, yeah, at least one of them could have gotten away and could have retrieved another set of keys and, freed his partner. But that's overanalyzing.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to analyze it, when they get the cop car,
Hmm.
it, call for help.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but it was Lewis, Keith David's character, who got the cop car, right?
Uh, well, no,
Oh,
and
that's right. Yes.
Carl and Susan found it
Right. You're
first,
right. You're right.
and they could have easily radioed for help.
Yeah, they should have.
Yes, the guys were in the on the merry-go-round, but just at
There
that
are
point,
other cops, presumably.
her car had been blown up. These guys had them at gunpoint that they had to escape from.
Yeah.
It's no longer a situation where you're like, oh, we should keep the cops out of this. No.
No, no, no.
Get the radio, get them over here, and get this, out of here.
And I gotta say, it was so painful to see that beautiful classic vet blown up.
I'm not a car person myself, but that car,
I'm not a
that
huge
vet,
car person, but I love vets.
that classic vet is the one car I'd be like, fuck yeah. That's like the one, wow, if we get the seven-figure salary or whatever,
Yeah,
I want like two of those
yeah.
at least.
My dream car is a little later, is about 10 years after that one, but still, that's like mid to late 50s. That's still beautiful.
Yeah, that's a work of art.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. That is. And like I said, I'm not even a car person. Far from it.
Now, they did pull off an amazing stunt in this movie. And it's a short scene, but I've never seen it done before. They skipped a garbage can lid against the street like it was a stone over water. Probably a special effect, but it looked awesome.
I think I've done something like that when I was a
Okay.
kid. You just need to practice a lot, though.
Well, it makes sense that, they're garbage men. They'd be practicing that sort of thing.
Yes, yes. The shit we did with garbage can lids when we were kids. Yeah, they were the shields.
But you're saying the whole beginning, it seemed like they were just biding time until Keith David shows up.
They were doing a lot to like a lot of unnecessary
Yeah.
backstory and stuff.
It just kind of felt like a lot of scenes that were kind of pointlessly stitched together.
Like, did we really need to see them playing trivia against each other?
Right.
I mean, I guess they wanted to establish that they weren't idiots, but
Mhm.
do we really need to know that even?
No,
No.
because it doesn't serve the rest of the movie.
Right.
They might as well be idiots.
Right. The whole surf shop thing was just completely pointless
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
They just so could have skipped a lot of that out of the first 20 minutes of the
Mhm.
movie. I think they could easily have pared that down to about 10.
Yeah.
10 to 5 even. If you really want to get drastic with it.
I did like the airbag gag though.
Oh yeah. And that was perfect because it set up the whole cartoon
Yeah.
thing that they were going for that really winds the movie up in the end.
Mhm. When the two other garbage men are chasing them through all this, life or death stuff because
Uh,
of a practical joke.
Honestly though, the rival garbage men thing could have been ditched,
Oh
and
yeah.
this movie would not have suffered anything for it.
I wouldn't have thought that there should have been something else if it wasn't in the movie, but having it in the movie, I think it was a nice touch. It added a little extra, I think.
Oh, of course it is. And I think that's the point of it. There are all these crazy things in their lives that do all intertwine one way or another in the end. Like there isn't anything wasted.
Right.
You know, that's how they get the car blown up.
Mhm.
Which, of course, would it really blow up if it just caught on fire?
No, no, that's a misnomer. Gasoline only ignites when it's in vapor form.
Right. And of course, the whole like crazy throwing the car in the air like that
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
which is insane.
That was just insult to injury.
Right, right.
Although I did like as we titled this episode, the Jaeger smoothie. Smoothie made out of ice cream, coffee, Jaeger, and either vitamins or aspirin. Probably aspirin. Really interesting combination.
Oh yeah, I
And
imagine
it's just
so.
a simple background thing while they're discussing some sort of business, and you're just watching Sheen's character put this smoothie together, and it was hilarious. Oh, speaking of the crazy zombie takeout with a gun scene,
Yes.
they apparently used the music from Clockwork Orange in that scene.
Really?
I meant to rewatch it because I missed it the first time, but I'm
Oh,
gonna have to rewatch that again to find out.
I have to watch that again too.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Also went back and checked where they got the perfectly good white boy line from.
Yeah.
Because anybody who grew up in that era knows that line was used in two movies. I'm a little ashamed to say that I didn't remember the first time it was used.
Was it Better Off Dead?
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn shame throwing away a perfectly good white boy. So Men at Work was referencing Better Off Dead, which I kind of love.
Yeah.
Kind of love that.
Which that's kind of I mean, I don't know, it's not as lost as this one is, but it's definitely,
It's another one you have to be our age to really remember.
yeah.
So if you're considerably younger, and I don't know if we have any younger listeners, but go back and look for Better Off Dead as well as, well, we'll see if we recommend Men at Work.
Now, actually, there was one thing we were at the point where they had the cop car again.
Mhm.
Was it just me, or did something not seem right about the sequence of events when they get into the car and the whole crash?
Oh, when they crash into the Hitman?
Yes, they crash into the Hitman.
That made no sense because, okay, here are guys who had them at gunpoint earlier,
Right,
and instead of just getting the fuck away or calling for help, you're gonna crash into them and be stuck with them in the same place.
right. They crash into them. They knock themselves out in the crash.
Mhm.
And then,
That was a clumsy plot device to get them to the junkyard.
right, and then all of the bad guys and the henchmen are all there. And the hitman walks up to him, while he's sitting in the car, still Carl, and he puts his gun to his head and says, "I'm back."
Hmm.
It was like there was definitely a scene missing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it definitely felt like something was cut,
Right.
and they never He never edited or anything.
Right,
It may have been something originally in the script that got tossed and they just didn't film.
right.
But it was definitely a very weird string of events there
Mhm.
that didn't make any sense.
Well, it also led to probably the worst moments of the movie. When the rent-a-cops show up to arrest Lewis, and the camera just zooms right in on him. He looks dead into the camera and says, "I hate rent-a-cops," or "I also hate rent-a-cops," or something.
Yes.
It it just completely destroyed the fourth wall in a movie that didn't destroy the fourth wall up until that point. And also the attack on the villain. What was his name again? Potterdam.
Potterdam, yeah.
First they throw this doll at him, and then she pops out from a refrigerator and hits him in the face with spray paint, and then Estevez and Sheen come by with two garbage can lids and hit him in the head and say high five. It was like Home Alone cheese.
Oh, they went full cartoon at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The entire movie, just the climax of the plot is just they've descended back into cartoon level.
Yeah, and when it wasn't that movie to begin with, and really wasn't that
It
much of that until then.
like it only was when they were doing the rival garbage bin
Yeah,
thing
that was a little cartoony, but
where they did full on Wile E. Coyote. Like I don't know why hasn't it gone off
yeah,
here? Let me take a look down the barrel.
yeah, that's true. That did lean toward cartoony,
And
because the beginning of that whole thing wasn't. You kind of related to the rival garbage bin given what was done to them,
yeah,
which killed me. That gag, the reprise of the airbag gag, that went a step further.
yeah.
That killed me, particularly the way they reacted to it. But at that point, early on, you relate to the rival garbage men, and you get why it became a war, and then they suddenly become Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
And the one really reminded me of Jay from the Kevin Smith movies.
Oh yeah. In fact, I wonder how much Kevin Smith saw of this actually.
Well, he is about our age. I'm sure he's well familiar with it.
Yeah.
Although it was about the same year as, or not that much before Clerks.
I guess you could also take like the fashionable male guy
Yeah, yeah. From the other,
from Mallrats.
yeah,
Yeah.
from the other Garbage Men True.
Uh-huh.
Although I'm sure that was really just based on Ben Affleck, actual. Oh, just quick bit of trivia. The Japanese Garbage Collectors Union demanded that the film be banned from video shelves as it disparaged trash collectors, portraying them in a poor light. But they busted toxic waste dumpers.
Well, right. They were the good guys.
I mean, they were kind of slackers in the beginning, but they ended up really doing something important.
They painstakingly made them not look like idiots,
Yeah,
though. Like they spent a good 15 minutes of the film
true.
trying, saying these guys have direction in their lives and
Mhm.
they, know who Alexander Haig is,
Haha.
and I mean,
And yet they came off as slackers.
yeah.
They should have just been slackers. I mean, going back to Kevin Smith, Dante and Randall were probably also inspired by these two.
Oh yeah. Which is kind of why I never got the whole like, whoa, they're just talking about their jobs and stuff, and that's it. I'm kind of like, well, wasn't that kind of,
Hmm.
done already?
Hmm.
But not realizing that people hadn't seen
No,
this.
no. What year was Clerks? I gotta look that up now.
94.
94. So he had time
Oh
to
yeah.
borrow from this.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. He had to then, yeah, definitely.
But they don't descend into cartoonish.
Oh no, no. He did the right thing. Smith.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pretty much done with my notes.
Same here.
Sequels and remakes, no.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I mean,
There haven't been any sequels and really can't see this being remade. What would be the point?
right, right.
They got it, mostly right the first time, and it's very dated, and I really don't see any relevance to it today.
I mean, it would have to be like Kevin Smith
Mhm.
remaking it if anybody were to do it.
Yeah, yeah, and he doesn't really do that.
Nah.
All right, on to brains.
On to brains. I'm interested in what you're gonna
Yeah,
give this.
it's my notes are still blank on this. And I decided, I was gonna think about it while we were talking and then decide. I'm really on the fence between a 3.5 and a 4. And I think just for sentimental purposes, I'm gonna go 4, put it on the rec list.
I'm going 4 as well. And I I would say out of the four, at least two brains are Keith David.
2 are Keith David, 1.5 are the Estefez brothers, and maybe a half is Potterdam.
Yeah, I'd give a star for Estevez and a star for Potterdam. Um, we never even talked about the weird Spicoli pizza guy, actually, did we?
He did pretty well. I remember him from a series called They Came from Outer Space. That was very early 90s. Actually, it was 90s into 2000s, I think.
I believe he ran for president.
Really?
The Libertarian Party.
Hmm. See, I
He's the
mostly know him from this cheesy sci-fi show. I didn't even know he got into politics.
his invention was the Airport Security Bill of Rights.
Ah.
So it's like this magnet, this metal magnet with the Bill of Rights inscribed on it,
Okay, I've
which
heard about that. Yeah.
that's him, yeah.
Wow. Okay, he went on to do something interesting.
Yeah. I don't think he won the nomination,
Wow.
but I think he ran.
All right, so what have we learned?
We learned that the 80s were just such a bad idea.
This was 90, by the way. Just
I know, well, I know it's 90, but this is definitely a product of the 1980s.
Oh, absolutely.
When you get that borderline,
Yeah.
early part of the
Right,
decade where
right.
people just weren't aware the decade was over,
hmm
this is it.
Yeah, we talked about this. You can go up to like 83 and movies will still feel 70s.
Yeah, especially who knows when they were filmed
Yeah,
or
so
written.
that's a very good point. This was 90, which meaning it was made in 89
Yeah,
and probably written in 87, 88.
right.
And I learned that pellet guns can seriously aggravate a situation without altering the course of history. Alright, so until next week when we'll be reviewing Miller's Crossing.
Oh, wow.
Been looking forward to this one. I said a while back that I hadn't seen a dramatic Coen Brothers movie before. Not exactly true. Since then, I've realized that Barton Fink really was dramatic, even though it doesn't really feel like a drama.
That's true.
And I've since seen No Country for Old Men.
Is this like an early 90s kind of
Well,
string that we're going on here?
we did this. Miller's Crossing is early 90s, I guess.
And before this, we had Highlander 2.
Highlander 2, 86.
Highlander 2 was 90.
Oh, you're right. It was early
90,
90s.
91.
The original was 86.
Yeah.
And then after that, Mannequin, which is very 80s. So we're kind of staying in that same era.
We need to move out soon.
Yeah, we'll be getting to some better stuff after that.
Okay, good.
Until then, go to zombietakeout.com, check out the album art, the episode description, of course, the episode itself, which you're already listening to. Links to find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and YouTube. Links to subscribe via RSS and iTunes. Please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it.
So we can get those kids listening to us.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
You also find the movie list, every movie we've reviewed so far, and every movie we're going to review, up through 210, I believe it is at the moment. And like I said, after Mannequin, they do get better. At least somewhat. You'll also find the request form. If you've got a movie you'd like to hear us review, please leave it on the request form. We'll get to it eventually. And of course, the recommendations list. This just barely made it, and I'm sure a lot of that is sentimentality.
It's Keith David.
Yeah, that too. We can't keep a Keith David movie off the rec list.
Every single damn line he had in this movie, I was laughing. The fucking misery speech. What was it? It was the thrive on misery speech.
Yes.
Had me almost in tears because he's just so straight faced.
He can do no wrong. He's one of those guys.
So intense.
Yeah.
But he's saying the most ridiculous fucking things in the world, and it's just beautiful.
Right.
He deserves to be recommended.
Mm-hmm. You can also email us, zombietakeout@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 414-368-ZTO1, or for the alphanumerically challenged,
Butt shot.
414-368-9861. That was unexpected.
What?
Of course, always remember that you will always be calling from the middle of Milwaukee, and until next time, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there
you are.
Golf clap? Golf clap.
Sponsored by Keith. I knew I'd do that. I can't get his name wrong. I can't get his name right when I want to get it right.
You
Or
had
wrong,
it.
I should say.
All right. And also brought to you by Another Man's Fries, one of several sacred. And also brought to you by